Hey everyone, this is Eric Stewart from Fishing Fanatics, and today I have an awesome guest, Chad Pipkens, with me. Chad Pipkens is an 11-year pro. He's actually won a Bass Open as well as two Bassmaster Northern Open Anglers of the Year. Chad has 28 career top 20 finishes in the Bass tournaments, and he's won the 2014 Bass Pro Shops Northern Open. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. It's great to have you on here because I've seen your name get thrown around a lot in professional bass fishing. And one of these questions I always like to ask the people that come on the podcast is how you kind of got started in the fishing and then how you kind of ended up where you are today in the professional circuit.
Yeah, for sure. That's the biggest question we get asked all the time is how do you get there? And to be honest with you, there's no certain way for everybody. Everybody's got their own path. All I can say is like 95 to 99% of us, it's hard work, blood, sweat, tears, and figuring out a path that works for you. And for me, it was a balance of work and fishing. The biggest thing that limit people from fishing full time is money. And then the thing is if you got the work and you've got the money, well, then you don't have time to be on the water to be good enough at fishing. So there's got to be a good balance. And for me, it was, I went to college and did that deal, majored in math, and I kind of set up my businesses like painting stuff. I've got rental properties and all that deal. I used to ref hockey nights and weekends. Was just literally working 80 to 90 hours a week when home. And then I would take off and fish, try to make some money doing that. Because in the end of the day, like when you start off, you still owe like your entry fees, travel. Nobody knows who you are. So nobody's jumping on me. My first year on the Elite Series, I won Angler of the Year in the Opens before. I never got one phone call. You really, to be honest with you, you don't get phone calls unless you have some connections, with the college fishing and stuff now. Those guys come in a little bit more groomed, and they come in with a little bit better sponsor portfolio. When I was starting, I had connections to the people I worked with. So I was fortunate to align myself with some of those people. And that's still kind of how I roll now, and just keep working hard for people and just keep trying to do good things and eventually get a big blue trophy. We're trying.
I love it. Yeah, right before we started recording, I mentioned that there's all those trophies behind you, and
Yeah.
you still said you're still chasing that big blue one, man.
We're getting close. It's crazy, man. It's been 10 years, but I've been close, and hope maybe we'll just skip the blue one and get the big brown one in a couple weeks at the class. I guess it's brownish, whatever color it is.
There you go. There you go, man. That's the whole goal. So you majored in math. So that was kind of like your backup plan?
I hate reading, to be honest. I was good at math, love math, and I was actually a secondary ed math major. Just going to teach. Was supposed to move to North Carolina to teach because I wanted to get down south and kind of fish and whatnot. And then just met a guy that fished the FLW tour at the time, and like we connected, and I kind of helped him out in Lake Erie a little bit. And he's like, dude, if you want to take a shot at this, like I'll help pay for your travel and stuff next year. You're welcome to roll with me. And he got down. He's from Indiana, good dude. And man, I traveled with him for like full years, full time. Him and Wesley Strader, he was Shad Skank, and just we had a blast fishing. I learned so much and had so much good networking with those guys. And you just learn about other people's practice styles. And in those 2 to 4 years, I learned more of those years than I did literally my entire life of fishing. Just being surrounded and engulfed with like guys that are good at their trade, their technique. And it was a lot of fun too.
Absolutely, man. The fishing community, as I'm talking to more and more people, there's always like this group of people that's always helped other people get to where they are. It's kind of cool to hear your story about how that group kind of...
It has to work that way because it's so hard to get there. Like, and there's a lot of good people in fishing, to be honest. Like for the most part, 99% of people are great people in the industry, because if you're not, dude, you're going to get left behind. You're going to get squashed because you need help. You need to have some connections with people. And it doesn't work out really doing it on your own, because if you do it on your own, you don't have any sponsor dollars. Well, your first year, you're still going to spend 80 plus grand. If you cash every check, 8 checks, 9, you still make nothing. So like it's Bass has given us such a huge platform. Major League Fishing, Bass, FLW, all of these people combined have really helped out our sport grow, with college fishing and high school fishing. Like the base is getting huge, and eventually like it all lifts up, but it takes time, for the sponsor dollars and stuff to shake out. But there's more eyes on our sport now than there's ever been, which means there's more opportunity. So like you may not crush it, making, money, cash and checks, but there's a lot of opportunity, to work with partners and to help grow the sport and make some good money in the meantime. I feel like those opportunities have been even larger the last, 5 to 7 years,
Definitely.
Hopefully they stay that way.
Yeah, honestly, hopefully it just keeps growing, because it is really cool to see like professional bass fishers just kind of doing their stuff out there and catching those big bass. But let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go to the techniques. And I was reading your portfolio on Bassmasters, and your signature technique is isolated target fishing. And I was wondering what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's fishing offshore. I don't necessarily mean fishing like I've done well in ledge lakes, like just fishing fish, like when they get on bare spots and stuff. What I love are like little clean spots, little hard spots. Whether it's gravel or rock, I've done really well at Texas and Lake Fork. I fish a lot of little timber lines or clean spots, like literally one cast deals. And I'm a big fan of Humminbird my whole career, using that 360 imaging to dial in that sweet spot now to use live and to make that cast. And before, like, dude, it was hard before 360 came out and live. I mean, I used to literally, like, the stuff I have on Lake Erie, like the little gravel spots or single boulders or whatever it is. I mean, I found those, it took 10 or 15 years to find them, because I would drive, me and my buddy would zigzag and mark every high spot. And we didn't even have side imaging when we started learning Lake Erie. And so it would be like 2 or 3 years, we'd have these 4 sweet spots. Then I'm fishing this one, and my coingler starts jacking them out of the back of the boat. I didn't even know a little pieces over there. Next time we go out, we drive over there more. I'm like, oh, there's another one there. And now you can literally go like this and do a loop, and every sweet spot that I've seen, you can find them in 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, granted, you still takes time to know what they are and whatnot, but it's just knowing where I've gotten the bites now. It's so much cleaner. It's pretty cool to drive around and see that, and other target fishing like Chesapeake Bay, like fishing single stumps underwater, a little lay down, like that kind of stuff. Like, I hate flipping, not gonna lie, it's fun, but I get my butt kicked when I go do it along the bank. So like, I try to stay away from the bank if I can. I don't mind flipping, flats, like grass out, on flats and stuff, submerged stuff like that. But I do not like to fish hard lines of structure. So, if you do something for a living, you don't have to be perfect at everything. You have to be good at what you do and be able to find that and adapt,
Absolutely. And those little bumps, those little like segments of rock, they don't really show up on like an old school like map, do they? Like,
that's what's neat about it. And that's why, like, we're going to Lake Erie this year, and I've won on Lake Erie before. I mean, I love fishing Lake St. Clair, but those fish roam and they're constantly in and out. And if there's a lake where you really don't have a home advantage, it's Lake St. Clair. The fish move every year. They move every day. And if the bait slides, you could be on 25 pounds like I was last time when I got smoked on St. Clair, and they slide off 100 yards. Well, if you don't go get them, you zigzag the wrong way, you end up with 13 or whatever. The only saving grace is last time we fished there, I didn't have live, so I was one of the guys out there, and a lot of us got smoked because of it. I mean, there's some places it doesn't really matter at all. There's other places, like when it's flat and nothing, like it's like fishing with your eyes closed without it. I mean, it really is. I went out one day it was spring or fall, whenever it was, just went messing around, caught 39 fish. I caught 38 of them on live. I mean, if I didn't have it, I would have still caught like 6 or 8, because you can see some of them set up on 360, but a lot of them are suspended, 3-4 feet off the bottom, just swimming. And it's just like, it's not like a needle in a haystack. It's like picking out a dang, beach ball in a bedroom or something. It's just easy.
So Chad, let me ask this, because I just bought a live sonar, forward facing sonar, and someone that's just getting into it, I don't really know how to use it. So you talk to the town. What have people been talking about, like how to really? You don't have to go into like the technicals of like setting it up, but like in theory, what's like the best way to use that?
You got to go somewhere where it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like if you're fishing, like they're hard to see when they sit in rocks. A bunch of smallmouth can tuck down a rock, so you don't see them that well. But if you've got like a lake that's flat, like again, it's tough if there's a lot of contour, but if you've got flat areas, that's why you see it excel so much, like in timber, like on timber flats, because those fish, when they're in trees, I mean, they stand out. It's like a glowing Christmas light, sitting in the tree piece. And it's really fun to do with crappie, because crappie stay still a little bit more. So a good way to learn is if you have a clear like timber lake around your house, just get out there and start scanning around, and you'll start seeing crappie and whatever. But the good news is they all bite. Like they all bite at times, but you can kind of get a gauge for learning what's what out there. And I have by no means mastered that at all. I just know that like there's lakes where it shines, and like Lake St. Clair is just a place without it. I mean, you are going to catch, I don't want to say 5, but I mean, between 5 and 10 times less fish. I mean, literally, it's ridiculous, because when you're out blind casting where they were, and you can just go like this and be like, oh, they slid over 20 feet. I mean, it's just unbelievable. In the days when they're chasing, you probably catch them anyway, because it's clean, it's clear. If the bait's 30 feet off, they're going to swim over and eat it. But there's other days where, like, if it lands by them, they eat it. But if it doesn't, you're out there just dragging around, and it's not. I'm not a big dragger. I like to put my stuff in the right places,
Yeah, definitely. Way more efficient, right?
And again, that's why I choose to go to Lake Erie. So like this year when we fished there, it's finally would be right for me to go to St. Clair. But if the weather's right and the fishing's right, like I just love that isolated stuff. And if I would love to be out there, if the fish are giant at Lake St. Clair and I'm going to lose 3 hours to go to Erie, it might not be worth it, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. So.
Gotcha, man. Awesome. And then, all right. So I was looking at your bio again. You like bananas on the boat?
I mean, I like bananas. So, I am actually, I believe in good luck superstition and whatnot. So like I eat bananas because they're good for your muscles. You don't get cramps, and we all fish like this and hunch over, and dude, it's terrible for your shoulders, your back, your arms. So bananas are good for you. I eat one every day. I'll eat it in the car on the way there. I'll eat it in the boat, but I do choose to eat it. That way I get rid of the bad vibes. So it's kind of like a reverse thing with the bananas. Like I'm not scared of them, but they get in my way. I'm going to take them down, and that way we can get rid of the bad vibes. Yeah,
because I know that's like a whole superstition in the bass community, right? You can't have a banana on the boat.
Yeah, there's people that won't even come next to your boat if there's a banana. And there'll be like people that will straight up go crazy if you were to toss a peel or something at them. I'm like, I don't know about that, but I do pick up heads up change, and I toss in the boat because I feel like a quarter is like good for 25 good bites. You know what I mean? Over the course of a tournament practice, whatever. So I'll be a scavenger. It's no big deal.
Cool. And Chad, what's the craziest experience you had out there on a tournament? The craziest fish bite, craziest story you've ever seen, or anything like that come to mind?
The craziest story I've ever heard, I can't tell you on the air. It's a good buddy of mine, Garrett Paquette, and it is literally the funniest story ever known to mankind about a guy that had a boat ride with him in a tournament, had some stomach issues, and it was a very interesting scene in the boat and whatnot. That's all. I'll just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. Garrett Paquette, get him on one time. If you want to have a different story time, he will tell you the funniest story you've ever heard of. That's all I can say.
I'll put it down in my notes to have him on. Yeah. I believe that story probably lines up pretty well with the story that I got about my dad too. Let's just say we were away and we were eating buffet food a lot, and we woke up at 5 a.m. one day to go out, and it wasn't a good sight on the boat. Well,
whatever you think happened, then times that by 5 or 10, and this one gets better. I get weird, but it's just, oh man. But that's funny. What are you going to do? You're on the water every day. You don't have a choice. I've had a lot of awesome stuff happen on the water. I can't really even pick one. I know the craziest thing that ever happened to me was when I won the Open. They had a boat race at Detroit River, like where we were allowed to cross, and we were given, just like a lock, you're given a set time where you can cross. Well, whatever happened, I roll up, I'm like, got 23, 24 pounds or whatever, and it's the last day. I'm there. I see Fletcher. No, it wasn't. Somebody else was in front of us. They went, they let him go, and then we got stopped by all these big, Canadian and American boats. I'm like, no, you got to wait to the next one. I'm like, no big deal. They just let somebody go. I've got over an hour to sit. Well, 20 minutes goes by, 30, 40. I'm on the phone with our director. They're trying to make calls. They're not letting us go. I'm at the Ambassador Bridge, and it's like, you should have an hour and 10 to get back. And I was talking to Fletcher Shyrock, who was sitting next to me at the time, and he's like, we're going to be late. I'm like, if we go with 40 minutes, we have a chance, or 30 or whatever it was. And dude, whatever it was, they were pointing at us, and they finally just said, you two go, no idle speed, just go. And we just took off, and it was like boat races. I remember going like 50, 55 miles an hour through like yacht wakes right down the middle of St. Clair. All the rods were put away, all my graphs off. And just, it was the roughest ride I've ever been. I got back with like a minute and a half left and got my first trip to the Bassmaster Classic. But dude, I've never been more stressed out sitting there knowing that like I've got what I need to win, but I don't know if I can get back. And it has nothing to do with me. I was an hour early. Just how, some of the risks you take when you make those runs.
Oh, dude, I'd be losing my mind sitting there just as time ticks on. Just like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, it was bad. And Fletcher wasn't losing his mind because he's like, well, I was in third and you were in second, and I know you got me beat, so at least I didn't win. That's what he's telling me. I'm just like, dude, you're killing me. But it all worked out. We made it back, and yeah.
That doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
That's not going to help at all, but
some background later probably, but.
Chad, I appreciate it, man. Couple questions I like to wrap up these. What's your biggest PB largemouth and PB smallmouth?
PB largemouth. That's another amazing story. Dang, 9.8 in an open. Day one, I was in like 100th, missed a few and only weighed 4 fish. On day two, I went out and caught right at 30 pounds, like 29.14. And I caught a 9.8 there on a big crankbait, like it was a whatever giant crankbait. It had 10XD or 8XD or whatever it was at the time. But I hung a big one off the ledge and it was fighting weird. I'm like, I don't know what it is, dude, but it's coming up to jump. Tell my co-angler. And then it comes near the boat, and I've got 2 of them like this. One of them I think is like 6 or 7. The other one I think is 8 or 9 pounds. And I'm fighting them like, oh my, I got like 20 pounds of bass on. And they go down, I hit the thumb button, I like feed them line. They would have been just out of reach of a net maybe, but I let them go back down. I pull them back up. They're both there. They're like 5 feet from the boat at the surface. And the big one, which was honest to God, like 2 to 3 pounds bigger, gets off. And I'm like, then I fight the other one. I catch the other one that I think is a 6 or 7. It's 9.8. The other one was like, I mean, maybe it wasn't as fat, but it legit could have been a 12 to 14 pounder. Like, I don't know how big it was. I just know it wasn't like 1 pound bigger. I mean, it was, I thought the other fish was 3 pounds larger so it was the craziest thing ever. So, but that was the coolest thing I've ever done with a largemouth. And smallmouth is 613. I've won a few VFLs, bed fishing, and I've caught like 2 or 3 613s. I've never caught a 7, but I have caught my co-angler's caught a 7 one off the back of my boat on Lake Erie, but I haven't. So.
So wait, real quick, going back to that one, it was a big crankbait. You had 2 fish on there. You caught the one, it was a 9 pounder. The other one was, what do you think, 12? Something like that?
I mean, the one was a 9.8, and if the other fish was skinny, and it did not look skinny because the other one didn't look fat. Like if it was skinny, it would have been, a 10 and a half, 11 pounder. If it was built even remotely close to the other, it was a 12 to 14.
Oh my God.
And I've caught big ones. I've caught like, 8.13 at 4, 8.10. And like, I've been very fortunate with, some of the bigger bites I've had, I've caught, but that was one that was the biggest one I've definitely ever hooked. And I mean, to land 2 fish like that, I mean, they straightened out, not straightened out, but they definitely, bent out some hooks, and that big one got away. But it was awesome.
No, that's an awesome story. So yeah. Where can people find you and keep in contact with you, follow your career on like social media?
I'm all Chad Pipkens, whatever you're searching for. I think one of them's got an underscore under it, but just search Chad Pipkens at mostly on Facebook and Instagram. Play around TikTok a little bit and Twitter, but do most of the stuff on Facebook and Instagram. Do a little bit of YouTube also. But man, I've got 2 kids now. I balance, a little bit of paint stuff still, rental stuff still, and then like tournament fishing is a full-time job. Like the marketing stuff, the social stuff is another full-time job. The scheduling, the travel, and then trying to have a happy wife at home and 2 kids that like you a lot. So we try to do it all here. Feel like we do a good job, but definitely burn the candle at both ends sometimes.
Definitely, I feel like you're super busy, right? I mean, you got to balance the work, play, and family. So. Exactly. That's awesome.
Keep everybody happy.
Chad, I appreciate having you on, man. I appreciate you coming on, taking some time out of your busy schedule to jump on this with me. Hopefully, someday down the road we can catch up and see how that tournament life's going. See that big blue trophy behind you,
man. Hopefully, we'll have some classic victory stories here in a few weeks, maybe, or just a good classic. I've had some really poor ones for whatever reason, but maybe the stars are lining up this time. So looking forward to it.
I love it, man. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
You just listened to the Fishing Fanatics podcast with your host, Eric Stewart. Feel free to check out our other podcasts and our other interviews on our channel, on Spotify, YouTube, and much more. Check out our Instagram page, TikTok, and Facebook as well.